I'm Tom Selleck. There are people among us who face the hardships of life and find in them excuses for failure. And there are others who face tremendous odds and find in them a reason to achieve. This program is about young people who have faced such adversities and chose to use them as stepping stones rather than anchors. They have persevered through personal difficulties with the determination to dream and achieve, not only in spite of the challenges they face, but because of them. Let's meet them now as we join hands against the odds.
當我細個嗰時，我哋移民咗去美國。生活初嗰時好困難，我哋唔識講英文啦，仲有生活環境好唔同香港。Troubles in communication and cultural differences became some of the biggest challenges I have faced. My dad was born in mainland China in southern province of Canton. When my dad was attending college in China, it was during the Cultural Revolution. My dad did not believe in the communist rule, so he decided to flee China. Hong Kong was a British colony then, and a lot of people flee to Hong Kong for freedom. My dad planned carefully for his escape from China to Hong Kong. He hiked the mountain range, and when he finally got to the border, he waited for the guards to be distracted. My mom was born in Hong Kong. She went to school up into 6th grade, and she was sent to a seamstress school as an intern when she was 14. My parents first met in the late 60s and dated for a year and a half before they got married in 1971. Less than 2 years after my 2 older sisters were born. A year and a half afterwards, I was born. My dad was renting a room, and so 5 of us were staying in this one little bedroom. And throughout that time, my dad was working 2 jobs. He was selling fabrics in the streets of Hong Kong, and he worked in the housekeeping department at a hotel. My dad had a long dream about immigrating to the United States for many years. It was my dad's wish to leave Hong Kong and go to more promising land since Hong Kong was going to be converted back to China in 1997. So in 1985, when I was around roughly 10 years old, my family and I boarded a plane to Hawaii. When we first immigrated from Hong Kong to Hawaii, we were shocked about the difference in living environment. From the perception what we had of what Hawaii is like to seeing what the actual reality is was a complete change. It's not just all tourists.
Check. In my life, I dealt with a community filled with crime, violence, and poverty. But most of my life, my father was not around. But through determination, you find a way. You keep going, and you don't stop. Both of my parents were born and raised in Adel, Georgia, about 3 hours south of Atlanta. But it's probably about 100 years separating the 2 cities. It's deep South Georgia, so there was all types of prejudices and racism that did exist. But more than anything, there was a huge gap. There was a gap in knowledge, there was a gap in wealth, and it permeated the whole city. So imagine a kid growing up seeing that. You can see the separation, You can see the poverty, then you can see the drug use and the crime, and it's all around you. Most people, kind of succumb to the depression that was there. And when you're depressed, you don't want to do anything. You don't strive for anything. You don't even believe you can achieve anything. I was born, my mother was 15 years old. She was a high school sophomore, and that was a lot of pressure for her. When I was born, my father was afraid, as any 16, 17-year-old would be at that time. He didn't really have much to do with me as a youngster, primarily because he still needed to go off and try to find a way for himself. The families clashed a lot, not out of dislike, but no one really knew what to do with this little child that was born. Sometimes it was angry, a lot of times it was bitter. However, my mother was always there. After I was born, my mother set out to work. That's been her philosophy for as long as I can remember, as long as I've known her. She's always worked. She went back to school because she was committed to getting her high school diploma. She would get out of high school, go to one part-time job, work that, come home, make sure I was okay, do her schoolwork, repeat the cycle the next day. After high school, she decided to go to New Jersey, go to school, look for some other opportunities. And it was a difficult choice for her. However, she always thought, I have to take care of my son. I was being raised by uncles, aunts, cousins, grandparents that were in Adel. A lot of my growing up was spent on the basketball courts or on the recreation fields. And there I was taught lessons by guys who had graduated from high school long before I was even able to enter. Around the age of 6 or 7, I went to New Jersey. At that same time, I also got a brand new little baby brother. Sherrod, that's my little man. We never had lots and lots of things, but we knew our mother loved us, and we knew our mother was gonna do everything in her power to take care of us. So it was the three of us in the cold city of Newark, New Jersey.
Growing up as the youngest daughter of a Portuguese immigrant family, I observed different obstacles my parents encountered, such as economic struggles, difficulties with the language, and working long, hard hours at the factory. At the age of 13, I received the most devastating news of my life. Both of my parents were born in Matança, Portugal. They both had the opportunity to only achieve a 4th grade education. My father decided to immigrate to Venezuela because he knew that in Portugal at that time he had limited opportunities. After a few years, he went back to Portugal, married my mom, and then she went on and traveled down to Venezuela to be with him. There, my siblings and I were born. Both my mom and dad realized that their opportunities continued to be limited in Venezuela. My parents knew that in the US they'd be able to provide their children with unlimited opportunities. So we immigrated to Rhode Island in April of 1980. My parents arrived with limited money, considering that they spoke no English. They knew that their options would be few in terms of employment. Both my parents worked as machine operators in different factories. My mother would work in the morning, my dad in the evening, so that at least one parent would be home with me and my siblings. We lived in the 6th floor of this apartment building. After 6 years, they went out and found a home in Pawtucket. It was very exciting because that was the real concrete way that we were actually realizing the American dream. One spring of the year 1990, my dad started feeling that he was losing strength in his toes and on his feet. The doctor suggested that we go and get some neurological testing done. One day, with all the tests that were done, my father was diagnosed with ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, which is also known as Lou Gehrig's disease.
When my family and I first landed in Hawaii, it was an overwhelming experience. We had to struggle to adapt to this new environment. Things were a little bit rough at the beginning, but my family and I stuck together and encouraged each other, and we knew things were going to get better. My dad started working as a waiter, and my mom was a seamstress. They worked very long hours, so my sister and I were left alone at home to take care of ourselves. So we've been independent ever since. When we first immigrated, communication was one of the biggest barriers. The first school I attended was Royal Elementary School. I spoke hardly any English at that time, and Mrs. Soditani, my first teacher here, helped me establish my speaking ability. I focused on getting my English skills up to speed and studying harder at night until the point that I felt more comfortable in school. My parents always stressed education, and if you do good in school, you'll be able to make sound judgments and make a good living in your adult life. When I finally got to high school, I was put into accelerated math and science classes, and it just all went from there on. I got involved in extracurricular activities. Miss Mahoney, one of our teachers, and Mr. Mahoney volunteered a lot of time for weekend trips to the nature trails on Oahu and the inner islands. That totally opened me up to learning how we need to preserve our environment for the next generations. My family's American dream was to have all the kids attend colleges. By the time I was ready to graduate from high school with a lot of supports from scholarships, I was ready to go attend a college of my choice and realize my dream.
New Jersey was a hard adjustment for me. And it was also a hard adjustment for my mother. She wanted to make sure that her two boys had a good opportunity to get a good education, not to have to worry about things. So she decided that we were going to move back to Adel. I learned the values of hard work, family loyalty, and unselfishness by watching my mother go to work every day in a factory in Adel, Georgia. While I was in middle school, I felt like I needed to work to help the family out. So, what do you do when you're in the 6th or the 7th grade and you're too young to get a real job? In Adel, Georgia, you go to work in the tobacco fields. Those days were long and they were hard. And they did a lot to build up muscles and stamina and strength. But not just physical stamina and strength. It was mental. And that helped me out a lot. Because to be honest, middle school was a very tough time. Seeing people fighting in school and getting kicked out of school. How, as a 7th grader, do you look beside you and see a young girl who's in your class and she's pregnant? You start to see alcohol, you start to see drugs, you start to see crime, you start to see these same heroes I looked up to pretty much all my life go to jail. I decided I couldn't be that person. I had too much responsibility. I had too many good things I wanted to do. So by the time I came to high school, every person that came into contact with me helped me along the way. Coach Shelton Seymour was a different type of basketball coach. He never played basketball. He didn't even know basketball. I used to hate to have late practice.
Yeah, because we had more time. Because practice would start at 5:30, we'd come home by 10, and we spent maybe half an hour on the basketball court.
Yeah. I'm ready to go run up and down the basketball court, and here he is wants to talk to us about drugs, or about why we don't need to be in certain places, or why we should all try to do well in school. He would talk to us in a way that most people are afraid to talk, because he would talk to us about the things that were really going on.
What really, really matters is that one day the whistle wasn't going to blow and the crowd was going home, and then what would you do? You had to have something to draw from.
Basketball, that was my passion. That kept me safe, helped make me strong, and gave me confidence. But I put just as much energy into books. Academics was my key. It was my passport out of here. Somewhere along the way, I realized the balance would make me special. I knew that in the classroom there was a level playing field, and it was all about the effort that you put into it. Put the effort in on the front end, the rewards will come on the back end. My senior year of high school, I started getting a lot of attention. I had a 1300 on my SAT, I had averaged over 20 points a game for like 3 years. I had been all region. I was student government president. I did some of everything, and I realized I wanted to do something that had never been done before. Cook High School had never had a black valedictorian.
The day that my father was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease was the most devastating day of my life. I remember being 13 at that time and not really knowing what that meant, what it was. During the time that the symptoms were becoming advanced, one thing that he said that scared me and touched my heart was when he said he just felt a prisoner in his own body. Just that statement struck me very hard, and I don't ever think I'll forget it. I remember being in French class with my sister Rosa, and the announcement came on, and so it said, "Rosa and Carmen Pina, please direct yourselves to the office to be dismissed." We arrived at home, and my mom was already home, and we all believed that my dad was waiting for us to be in the same room, to be together. He very peacefully closed his eyes and stopped breathing. It was very peaceful. It was very intense, talking to him during those moments and encouraging him and assuring him that we would all continue to work hard and to be good people. Soon after my father passed away, I knew that I would have to start working to contribute in any way I could to my family's financial need. I took on a job at a donut shop. I would work in conjunction with going to school. Part of the reason why my parents came to this country was for us to go ahead and pursue higher education. As a tribute to my dad, I was going to work hard in school. In high school, I was heavily involved with Key Club, which was a nonprofit organization with community-related activities. I just remember working with elementary school children and looking at them and thinking education will be another solution for them to continue to do well for themselves. And I remember thinking that I was doing all that I could to continue to be active and to feel productive and to feel that I was making a difference, not only in my high school and my community, but with myself and my family, and that it would be just a matter of a couple of years before I'd be ready to head off to college.
When I graduated from high school, I decided to attend Purdue University in West Lafayette, Indiana. I graduated with a degree in civil engineering. At the time of my graduation, my dad was so proud of me graduating and fulfilling his dream. From that point on, I knew my parents had a sense of accomplishment, having all three of their kids complete a college education. I received a graduate degree in environmental engineering at Michigan State University. That opened doors for me to work in the environmental consulting field. I'm now working for Tetra Tech EMI as an environmental engineer in San Francisco, California. It's a great feeling to know that you can make a difference in the environment that you're living in. Our land is borrowed from our children because they're the ones who are going to be here to carry on the future. As a child, I would have never imagined that I would be able to work as an engineer. Immigrating to the United States opened so many doors beyond my wildest imagination. It gave me new hopes and new opportunities. I don't know how to thank my parents enough for all the things that they have done. They have overcome so many adversities in their life and became such great models. Throughout every stage and every season of our life, dreams are forever important. Without a goal or a dream, it's hard to go forward, and that's when people lose hope. We fall by the roadside and forget about our dreams. Self-determinations allow you to leap forward and beyond when you're faced with difficulties. Just be encouraged that with a strong work ethic, perseverance, and with great integrity, you'll be able to succeed in whatever you want to achieve in life.
On Honors Day, I was awarded a lot of awards. And the very last thing that they announced that day was the top 3 honor graduates. I had this overwhelming fear that my name wouldn't be called. But when it was, I heard teachers and people in the community let out a collective sigh of relief, like, whew, it's finally happened. This is one thing no one can ever take away from me. I'm the valedictorian of my high school class. I'm the first black valedictorian in Cook High School history. But I don't want to be the last. I chose to attend Morehouse College in Atlanta for a very specific reason. It had an outstanding tradition of producing great leaders, and I wanted to be a part of that tradition. I decided to major in electrical engineering, applied physics, and minor in math. Being at Morehouse provided a unique opportunity. My father was living in Atlanta. We went about the course of getting to know each other. It was never the traditional father-son relationship, but over time, and a lot of effort, things started to work out. When I graduated in 1999, I decided to get a master's degree in electrical engineering from Georgia Tech. When I received my master's, I decided to go into management consulting. I'm currently a business analyst for McKinsey & Company. Our firm consults with Fortune 500 companies to help them shape their long-range strategy and the course of their businesses over the next 5 to 10 years. It's the best real-world exposure to business that anyone can imagine. Next move, think about business school. I'm considering becoming president or CEO of my own company, thinking about starting a nonprofit foundation. Whatever the case may be, I'm going to go off and do something great. And it's all because of the impact that my situations have had on my life. My friends had kids by the time we got to high school, and most of them didn't graduate.
That's right. They all expected you and Sherrod to have children, but most of my friends are grandparents now. And remember, we broke that chain.
Yeah.
We have diplomas, but we don't have grandchildren.
The American dream has been to create opportunity for people to achieve. And in that, I have found that I have a lot to give. I have a lot of expectations for myself. But most importantly, I have a will and drive to know that I'm not defined by Adel, Georgia. I'm not defined by drugs, alcohol, violence, teen pregnancy, any of those things. I'm defined by the size of my dreams. And my dreams are big. And as long as they remain big, I have infinite possibilities in life.
A natural characteristic of a human being is that we're resistant, and that when something sets us down, we have the natural capability of bouncing back. Overcoming adversity and dealing with struggles in life serves to help us become stronger people. I feel that if my father were present today, he'd be very proud of what his children have accomplished. We've been hardworking, we've been honest, we've been supportive with one another. And I believe that all of our work continues to be paid off as we have been able to pursue higher education and arrive at a point where we are making our dreams real. In high school, Mrs. Began, my tennis coach and art teacher at the time, and Mrs. Oliveira, who was the director of the Key Club, taught me to believe in myself. Mrs. Began through tennis and my artwork, and Mrs. Oliveira through her belief in my ability to work with youngsters at the local elementary schools and organize activities in the community. While I was applying to enroll in different colleges, I knew that financially it would be a little problematic to meet the tuition. I applied to different scholarships and was awarded extra assistance to pursue my education. It was definitely a turning point in my life going to Middlebury College. I majored in international studies with a focus on Latin American studies. I also minored in teacher education. I decided to enroll in Middlebury's MA program in Spanish and went ahead and completed the academic year in Madrid. I knew that I wanted to be a high school Spanish teacher, and I knew that I wanted to work in Rhode Island, so I applied everywhere. And was offered a position.
I'm currently working as a high school Spanish teacher at Pilgrim High School, which is in Warwick, Rhode Island.
My main reason to work with students at the high school level is that I know that that's a critical time in their lives and that they need teachers who can see them for who they are and what they're capable of doing. They need teachers who can encourage them. And I hope to impart to them the value that I give to education and the importance of pursuing our dreams and becoming better people.
I've always believed there is a spark inside each of us, which is ours alone, which no one can take away from us if we don't let them. When the winds of adversity blow against that spark, they can either extinguish it or ignite it. As these young people have shown, the choice is usually up to us. What makes the difference between the young person who succumbs to adversity and the one who uses it as a stepping stone to success? Join me for some surprising answers in an inspiring new program, Against the Odds, The Next Generation.